So let's get this party started. First and foremost, Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ben Coffey. We are happy to have you here for our new season, our new year of WeatherTRAK Smart Water Wednesdays. We have a whole gambit of new episodes in the queue. Getting excited about taking on some big questions, some little questions, and everything in between. So thanks for your continued attendance and your continued interest in what we're doing here. Today, I am joined by my old friend, Chris Shreenan, who is the president, CEO, and chief marketing agent for Bird Dog Irrigation in the greater LA County area, right, Chris?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Ben. Hello, everybody. My first webinar, so bear with me. I'll try to behave.
And I have to say that Chris Shreenan, to try and behave is a huge ask for him.
Yes,
Chris Shreenan was a product specialist and a brother of ours for many, many years. It's been now, what, 3 years that you've been doing Bird Dog?
Yeah, I think so.
And I love the Bird Dog model because it is all about smart water management, right? It is uniquely revolved around WeatherTRAK customers and advancing that smart water agenda, right?
Absolutely. It's a niche market for high-end irrigation and what it does, and it's a valuable product. And there's a need, and there's a want for extra service, and that's where I come in, and it's a huge blessing. So I'm very indebted to HydroPoint.
Yeah, and one of the things we talk about on this show a lot is water management isn't a device; it is a practice, right? It's not just a WeatherTRAK, but having somebody on the end of the line that knows how to use it and knows how to deliver those outcomes and steward the process and make sure that everything gets done correctly so that we achieve what we set out to achieve. And it's good to see that the market is receptive to that message, right? That it isn't just mow, blow, and go kind of irrigation contracts anymore. Just adding them into whatever you're doing isn't providing the level of management that yields the type of savings and the type of outcomes that our WeatherTRAK customers are looking for. So I love that you are in the trenches battling that fight every day. So good on you, Shreenan. Well, I'm going to jump over and do some screen share. Started my Zoom meeting. Let's see. Oh, everybody, here's my email. Let's not do that. All right, here we go. First of all, Happy New Year. Welcome to 2021. I'm not sad to see 2020 in the rear view mirror. Hindsight 2020 is what I call that. No, I messed up my title slide, Shreenan.
Oops.
This is supposed to be the coming next week slide, and I wah, wah, wah. What we are talking about today is overseeing a WeatherTRAK project. We call this WeatherTRAK Project Management Oversite. And we're trying to make this as easy as we possibly can. And we're going to have Chris Shreenan as my guest. The star of the show today, Bird Dog Irrigation. This is pulled from your website, which I loved, by the way.
Thank you. Thank my wife.
She does good work.
She actually is the president of Bird Dog. She's 51%, I'm 49, so I'm the VP. Just for the record.
So I spoke out of turn there.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
So in today's conversation, we need to make a unique distinction between irrigation managers and what I call water managers. When we talk about oversight, oftentimes that people providing oversight to your WeatherTRAK project are not the same people that have their hands on the controller or in the valve boxes, right? They're your irrigation managers are the guys in the field that are actually providing the service. But there is a level of management above that a lot of projects have to oversee the WeatherTRAK management and make sure that they're being managed in a way that delivers those outcomes. And that's really who I want to talk to today. And I call those people water managers, but they go by a whole host of titles, right? Account managers in a landscape irrigation maintenance company. Account managers do that, site managers do that, even sustainability managers and higher up the kind of company totem pole type of managers just want to provide oversight to make sure that their weather tracks are being managed to deliver the outcome that we're looking for, right? And so I want to, in today's conversation, talk to those water managers and provide the most simple way that they can provide oversight without becoming an irrigation manager, without having to bog themselves down and become an expert in all things irrigation just to provide the level of oversight that some projects need. Does that make sense, Chris?
Absolutely, and it's a huge point. And I get a lot of questions and feedbacks from some of my, the higher level customers, and they want to know, hey, is my landscape manager taking care of this stuff? And it's like, so that's pretty much a lead into what we're going to cover is some of the simple reports that can be auto-generated or manually generated to give them the oversight info at a high level.
Absolutely. So that's what we're going after today, and we're going to try and make it as easy as we possibly can. So speaking to those water managers, if I was to start at ground zero, somebody who knows nothing about irrigation and or WeatherTRAK, and point them to two simple things that they need to know about to oversee the project, I would point them at these two things, right? First of all, I would teach them a little bit about automated by WeatherTRAK, by that beautiful weather-based irrigation that WeatherTRAK can provide, right? And as somebody who's overseeing the project, I want you to understand the value that automated by WeatherTRAK provides, what that weather-based irrigation does for you, and how to make sure that your systems are using it. Because one of the biggest missteps in water savings is buying a WeatherTRAK and then not using that weather-based function. And so just to be able to look in and see that that is being used is a huge advantage. The other conversation we want to focus on is alerts. The WeatherTRAK is self-diagnosing. It's watching your irrigation system and a lot of different facets of your irrigation management for you. And if the system wants to raise its hand and let you know something, it's going to create an alert. So we'll go into these subjects a little bit, kind of provide just high-level guidance on what these things are and what they mean, make you enough of an expert to provide the level of oversight that your project might need. Sound right?
Well, absolutely. One of the things that I chuckle as just being an observer, and I take my dogs to the dog park a lot, and they're not necessarily using weather-based systems, but when you go from really, really hot weather to, somewhat cold weather very fast, within a few days, you see how they didn't have time, and it's not their fault, that nobody has time to react and go change the controller, but you see floods out there, and I chuckle because, hey, it's been good all summer, and now we got cold weather all of a sudden, and, they got behind the eight ball. They have to do the, I got to run out there and go change it now, where when you're in automated, it's seamless, and it truly does. Once it's dialed in and once they're happy with it, it's a leave it alone.
Exactly right. Don't say set it and forget it, but once it's right, it's going to be right going forward, right?
Yep.
All right, so let's talk just real quickly about what I mean by automated by WeatherTRAK, okay? If you're a water manager, you need to know that the system that you purchased, WeatherTRAK system, is delivering weather-based irrigation. And the way that we do that is we think that underneath every station, there's a glass of water, and there's a safe level that glass of water has to remain to keep your plants healthy, right? We call that the maximum allowable depletion. So in this glass of water, your plant is safe as long as that glass of water is full, and that plant is healthy until that glass of water gets about half full. And once it passes that half full mark, we spark irrigation and fill that glass of water back up. That is really the nuts and bolts of what we're doing, right? And that weather-based irrigation is dependent on two different things. First of all, WeatherTRAK delivering the weather variables, and second of all, to Chris's earlier point, that controller being programmed with the landscape variables that exist in the field, right? So for every station, I program in what type of plant I'm growing and what type of sprinkler I have, and WeatherTRAK takes that information, combines it with the weather information to create this irrigation schedule. And that is a key factor. That automated by WeatherTRAK is what delivers what we see between 20 and 60% annual savings on your irrigation water consumption, right? That weather-based irrigation will turn the water down in the spring, turn it up in the summer, and turn it back down in the fall in its most simplified version. And it actually does that day to day. It makes that adjustment continually. But to Chris's earlier point, if you're managing in a traditional sense and you don't get to the controller early enough in the fall, everything is getting overwatered. But with WeatherTRAK, the system is making those adjustments for you and preventing that from happening, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So it's important to know that this is just an option. So we want to talk about one detail called station mode. And the station mode is set for every individual station on the controller and determines how that station will generate its runtime. And automated by WeatherTRAK is the fancy WeatherTRAK way of doing that calculated depletion that allows us to balance the weather conditions and the site conditions and give you exactly what your site needs. I want to say that that's the right solution in 90% of the irrigation stations that I see out there, right? It's the science of keeping your green grass green, keeping your landscape healthy on a scientifically calculated and balanced amount of water. Exactly what the landscape needs and not a drop more.
Right. And one thing, just to be, for everyone who's watching, I realize, and Ben does too, the first pass, even the second pass may not be perfect. Some, when we put in all these attributes, it's going to be close, but it's like 20 questions. You're going to get closer and closer and closer, but there are adjustments that are needed. And the beauty in automated mode, you can adjust to overwater, you can adjust to underwater, you can adjust it wherever you want in auto. And of course, you do need user no ET or maybe user with ET if you're replanting. Obviously, that is needed. And that's a station level basis. Generally, you're not replanting every zone, every station. You might just need to have one or two, and that's perfectly legit, perfectly reasonable and needed.
Absolutely. So that's what these other station modes are all about, right? There are applications where that weather-based irrigation isn't what you're looking for. Like if you have just planted new plants, laid down new sod, laid down new seed or fertilizer, there's a million reasons why an irrigation manager might want to override that weather-based irrigation schedule and say, I want what I want, and I want to be able to depend on it. That's what these user mode schedules are all about. When you program a station mode to user mode, the irrigation manager then defines how many minutes per cycle and how many cycles per day, just like you do on the irrigation controller that we replaced. Very valuable in many applications, but usually something that is only applicable for a certain amount of time, right? So if I lay down new plant material, I want to use user no ET, but I want to get that out of user no ET as soon as those plants have established. So as a water manager, what I want to teach you is, if it's not in automated by WeatherTRAK, I ask my contractor two questions, right? First of all, why is it not in auto mode? And there's a million reasons that are acceptable. The one that stands out as unacceptable is stupid WeatherTRAK controller doesn't work, and I don't know how this weather-based stuff keeps up. That is not what you're looking for out of your irrigation manager. But new sod, new seed, a million reasons why that's an acceptable solution for what they're trying to do. But the second question is key, right? When will you switch it back to auto mode? And for every project, your irrigation manager will know. If it's new, if it's fertilizer, it might just be a few days. If it's new seed, maybe longer, right? New plant material takes maybe a month or more to establish. But after it's established, we want to get those stations back on auto mode. So as a manager, look for stations out of auto mode, and when you see them, ask when they'll be back. Okay? So that's what we need to know about auto mode. That's the simple nooks and crannies. We're not going to teach you how to adjust there, just how to provide the oversight. There's also a conversation about alerts, right? Again, the controller is self-diagnosing. It's like having an irrigation tech on site 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, watching the behavior of your irrigation system. And if something goes wrong, the eyes and ears will let you know, right? That alert notification can be seen at the controller, online, on the app. You can even sign up for text and email notifications, depending on how involved you want to be. We really, the alert management is a key part of the field management of these controllers. And this lets us proactively manage situations out in the field. We don't have to wait for landscape to die to know there's an issue. We don't have to wait till we get a $10,000 water bill to know there's a leak, right? Those alerts are very meaningful. So why are they important to manage alerts? Because they can look like this, you know, it can be a very public eyesore that looks like water waste, right? This guy right here, if you can see the water just gushing up over this tree. Shreen,
That's a great one. Wow. I've got good ones too, but these are some good ones. But yeah, I mean, when we wet check, irrigation happens at night. No one's paying attention. But when you go out during the day and start turning stuff on and you realize, I cringe sometimes, as how long has this been like this? And look how much water is being wasted.
Absolutely. And this is actually outside of our corporate office. This is a picture that Peter Carlson took. And this mainline break happened right outside of our corporate office. So it's awesome. Awesome evidence, right? This is the reason that we respond to alerts is because they can look like this. However, they don't always look like this. It's important for water managers to know that while an alert might be something catastrophic and eyesore, it also might be something very minor and something that doesn't require any sort of action, especially in the heat of summer, right? A water window alert tells you that you've scheduled 12 hours of irrigation for the night that we can allow irrigation, but we just calculated a 13-hour irrigation schedule. Now, WeatherTRAK automatically adjusts for all that and makes up what it's going to miss the next time it irrigates. It does a lot of fancy stuff to make sure that those plants are getting what they need. So a water window alert is a great example of something that an alert that doesn't need to go away, but it does need to be watched. We do need to continue to make sure that we understand what that alert information is providing and we're responding to it. Make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, a water window alert can be resolved very simply by overlapping your programs and running stations with lower flow simultaneously. So if you need 13 hours, but you only got 10, which is usually the case, you can actually get 20 hours. You can run program A and program B from 10 p.m. till 7 in the morning and run tandem 2 stations at the same time, if you have the water, of course, to do so, if you have the volume and pressure to do so. But
Absolutely.
those are, that's
or
why
you could buy OptiFlow.
You're right. Yeah, that's
OptiFlow solves that problem too.
Sure. That's why a water window alert is important to still manage, because you're going to get a little bit behind on your scheduling. But as you say, it'll get caught up on the day that it can.
Right. And so as a high level manager, this is important information, right? The nooks and crannies of alerts are, we're keeping an eye on the system, and somebody needs to do something with this information. We just need to ensure that the irrigation manager is seeing and responding and understanding this feedback loop so that we eliminate possible sources of water loss or money loss, or, you know, those types of things can also result in landscape stress and loss of landscape. There's a lot of things that happen when your irrigation system breaks. So these alerts are designed to be your friend, to keep you on top of that stuff.
Yeah,
but it does take a receptive manager to continue to watch it.
That perception of alerts being your friend, sorry, that's not the reality. The alerts, how do I clear this alert? You know, and the answer is we'll fix the problem that it's telling you it's there, right? But yeah, but those are other trainings.
Nobody likes to be nagged. That is a fact. But
me neither.
It is what it is, right?
Yep.
So now let me back up one slide. So now that we understand just the high level of what is auto mode and why do we want to make sure our stations stay there, and what are alerts and why do we want to manage them, right? Now I want to take a step back and show you how easy this oversight can be, because one of the things that I love about WeatherTRAK is the access to data, and the data in this case is very, very compelling. This is what I call the WeatherTRAK report card. This is a account level report. So we will look at all of the controllers that you've been given access to and give you an at a glance summary of how that controller is being managed, specifically focused on these key elements, right? So you can see here, I've pulled up a report from my demo account. And if you look across here, we can see there's a whole category called station mode. And that station mode is color coded. So we go for the simplicity, right? Green means good, yellow, red, right? In this case, green means all of your stations are programmed in auto mode. Yellow means some stations are programmed in auto mode, some are not. And red means none of your stations are in auto mode. So I can very quickly just scroll down and look controller by controller and see, based on this color code, where that programming lives. And as these things come up, right, as changes to these colors happen, or if you see something in red, as a water manager, that's the kind of information you're looking for to prompt the question, to start asking your irrigation manager what's going on, right? And so that's contained in this report. We also have this whole current status that deals with that alert information. So how many alerts, and really we have a whole category we call red or critical alerts. So I'm going to bounce out of this guy because this is just a screenshot, but I have the whole report gussied up here on my laptop. So you can see here, let me blow this guy up. Okay. So now if I scroll down here, you can see this is a great example out of our corporate demo. These two controllers are my OptiFlow demos. So none of the stations are in auto mode. They're just user mode all the way. So that red alert, hey, none of these stations are using that automated by WeatherTRAK, or not delivering that water saving schedule that WeatherTRAK is famous for. But down here in green, good, right? These controllers have alerts on them. And if I scroll down, you see this guy right here, red alert. This is the big bad dog, right? This is the one we want to be ultra sensitive to. That's a mainline break. That's something that is just commanding attention. The rest of these alerts are maybe not critical, but anything in red is something that you definitely want to be asking questions about. Okay.
Triage.
So we have made this report as easy to access the information that you need as a high-level manager as it needs to be. But I'll take it one step further for you and go into the WeatherTRAK system. And this is where the benefit of the report subscription comes in, because if you subscribe to this report, WeatherTRAK will automatically generate the report and deliver it to your inbox at the time of your choosing. So as that high-level manager, you don't even need to remember to log into WeatherTRAK to pull this report. You just come in, sign up for it on your account, and make sure that it's subscribed to land in your inbox at the time that it makes sense, right? Maybe every Monday morning you have this report generate and go to your inbox, and all you have to do is look for that report, give it a glance over, see if there's anything that is cause for concern. And then if there is, take those questions to your irrigation manager and ask them, right? This is the information that you need to ask the right question to provide that level of oversight.
As I was showing you, Ben, I mean, here's a copy of one, and I don't know if you can tell, but I've written all over it, and I use these a lot as an irrigation manager for a site that might have 15 controllers. And, you know, if I'm going to visit 3 or all 15, I want to write some notes about things. I just scribble all over it, and then I can come back. So the controller inventory report is fantastic. It gives you a lot of great information.
Absolutely. And let me just, for my water nerds out there, this jumps out of what we talk about with the water managers, and this is really more for the irrigation managers. But one of the things that our controller inventory report does that most people don't know, these 2 options, right? One of the things that we always do is customize our report options. If I check these 2 reports or these 2 report options, I get just a ton more information, right? So without those 2 things checked, my report ends right there, right? With those 2 things checked, WeatherTRAK will actually provide analysis of your programming. So you check those 2 things and it will go through and look at every station and give you good information about how that station is programmed, and especially focused on whether or not it's programmed in a way that might trick the system, right? You might be overwatering just based on the way that the station is programmed. So it looks at, for example, the percent adjust. If we're percent adjust more than plus 15, here, this controller has 29 total stations, 1 that is plus 15 or more. Maybe you want to go look at that. Root depth, right? Are my roots too high or too low? That will adjust the frequency. This is the one that I always love, the sprinkler efficiency, right? Because that's the biggest trick in the system that you could maybe never see, is to turn that efficiency down so low that it's just constantly overwatering. Well, this will look at your entire account and tell you controller by controller how many stations exceed the WeatherTRAK tolerance of efficiency adjustment, right? Not just is it on the default efficiency, but is it outside of a range that we think might actually be represented? So that is super cool. Like, the level of analysis that this report provides is mind-blowing.
That is new to me. Thank you, Ben. I learned something. So I wasn't thinking about those, and that's a pretty cool little extra. And I will confess, I drop precipits and I drop efficiencies because my main goal is to have my landscaper, hey, auto, it looks pretty good. It's close, because generally the coverage isn't always there on the spread, on the, you know, I don't want to go there, but you know what I mean. I do mess with the auto settings to keep it in auto. That's always my goal.
Absolutely. And as soon as the information in the program matches the information in the field, the science takes over and you're in luck. Adjusting the efficiency is not uncommon, because efficiency problems in the field are not uncommon, right?
Absolutely.
If you have spray patterns that aren't going head to head, that's an efficiency problem. If you have, you know, like you're missing a head in the design. A tree has grown up and has blocked one of the sprinkler heads. All of these are efficiency issues that might require that adjustment. So 100%, that is the way I do it as well, but it's definitely something that you want to keep an eye on.
Sure.
All right, Shreen, we are approaching time up here. We've got just a minute or 2 left. Anything you want to mention before we close out that topic?
No, I just alerts as you know, as one of the second facets, you know, auto settings or what type of settings that the stations are in, and alerts. And yeah, it would be nice to have the perception of the alerts not be such a negative, but how do I clear my alerts? Those are some of the number one questions I get from my customers and the people that that use me as a WeatherTRAK support, which I love. I mean, you know, to me, business is personal and personal is business, and that's just where I am. And I'll try to help anybody I can anytime, and always support HydroPoint. And so, you know, the alert, it's funny because it's always considered so negative. And if there's a way to flip that into a, you know, a little paradigm shift into creating more positive aspects of it, that would be something I'd love to see.
As a husband, I can tell you, first of all, nobody likes to be nagged. Second of all, everybody needs to be nagged from from time
Oh
to
my
time.
gosh, yeah.
That's exactly what
Yeah,
alert they're trying
those
to do,
are
right?
great points.
So that, I mean, it just, if you can embrace them and love them, they are here to help. Absolutely. So I want to close out with the way I close out every time, Chris Shreenan. I ask all my first time special guests, what does WeatherTRAK save you?
I will say time. I mean, I've been doing some installs for a juncture where the controllers are already pre-programmed, and I have them in my list. I have the serial numbers. They're not even named. And as soon as I get them up, they go online, and I can log in on my phone and start doing a wet check. And that still just blows my mind as to where we are in technology. And that, you know, I could literally within 20 minutes, I've got the controller up, and it has gone online because it was already pre-activated. And I could start running stations, you know, on my phone on the thing. And
Absolutely.
yeah, it's crazy stuff.
Well, that is awesome. I definitely appreciate you making time for us, Chris Shreenan. I love having you on the show. It's always a pleasure to see your face. And with that, I'm going to go back. Instead of what was supposed to be my title slide, we'll talk about what's coming up next week. Next week, we are going to start to have those drill down sessions on 2-wire. So we're going to take on the subject of 2-wire decoders next week. I may even show off the little test rig that I have wired up here in my office. So join us next week for conversation about H2O 2-wire decoders. In the meantime, I'm Ben Coffey. Thanks for joining us. Look forward to seeing you here next week on Smart Water Wednesdays. And Chris, you want to take us out?
Well, thank you, Ben. This has been wonderful. Thank you again for the opportunity, and honored to always serve HydroPoint. Have a great day, everybody, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thanks, everyone.